Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's ex-wife keys his car and really ends up regretting it. My psycho ex-wife keyed my car after I divorced her for cheating. So here's the short version. My ex-wife and I are in the middle of a divorce after I found out she cheated on me, again. It wasn't the first time she crossed the line, and this time I wasn't gonna let it slide. I filed for divorce immediately. She begged me not to, cried, promised it would never happen again. But I didn't believe a word of it. I've given her too many second chances already, and I was done. Now we're living separately. She's still at the house, and I'm staying at my parents' place while the legal process unfolds. It's been messy, expensive, and draining. She's made it clear that she's out for blood. Said I'll regret leaving her, and that she's going to take me for all I'm worth. A few days ago, I woke up and went outside to head to work, and my car was completely keyed up. Both sides, deep scratches. It looked like someone had gone out of their way to be as destructive as possible. I just stood there staring at it, and I instantly knew who it was. My parents' house doesn't have security cameras, but I remembered that our neighbor across the street has a full front yard setup. I went over and asked if they could check their footage from the night before. Sure enough, there she was. Her car pulled up around 1 a.m. She stumbled out, looked like she had been drinking again, and walked straight over to my car and started dragging her keys across it, front to back, both sides. Then she got back in her car and just drove off. I haven't said anything to her yet. I haven't even told my lawyer. I just keep thinking, is it worth reporting this? On one hand, I have clear video proof, and it would feel good to stand up for myself after everything she's put me through. On the other hand, the divorce has already been a nightmare, and this might just make it even more complicated. The cost to fix the car sucks, but honestly, I'd rather pay out of pocket and get her out of my life sooner. I guess I'm just asking, should I report this or just let it go for the sake of moving on? Thanks in advance. Absolutely report it. Not only is this the right thing to do, but having this incident documented could actually help your case in the divorce. Judges don't take kindly to destructive behavior, especially when there's video evidence. Every bit of proof matters when you're dealing with someone who's already shown they're willing to play dirty. Don't let this slide. Get it on record. Update 1 week later. Thanks to everyone who encouraged me to report the incident. I ended up going to the local police station the next day and I filed a report. I brought a copy of the security footage from my neighbor's camera and they were very straightforward about the whole thing. I gave them a written statement and they made a copy of the video file for evidence. They told me they'd be following up and that I might be contacted again if they needed more info. A few days later, I got a call from an officer letting me know that they did reach out to her. She denied it at first, but after they mentioned the footage, she got quiet. They said they're still reviewing the details, but that I could choose to press charges for vandalism if I want to. Right now, I haven't officially pressed charges. My lawyer told me that this kind of behavior could definitely be used as evidence during the divorce case, especially since she's trying to argue for alimony and a larger share of our assets. He said it reflects badly on her character and helps establish a pattern of harassment and instability. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Part of me still can't believe she actually did it, even after everything. But the camera doesn't lie. For now, I'm driving around with scratches all over my car, but at least I'm sleeping better knowing that it's on record. Update 2 months later. So it's been a little over 2 months since I filed the police report about my ex keying my car, and I just wanted to say it absolutely made a difference in court. When the video footage came up during one of our recent hearings, my ex looked completely blindsided, even though she knew I had it. Watching her get questioned about it on the stand was amazing. She tried acting like it was a misunderstanding, but the judge wasn't buying it. He literally stopped her mid-sentence and asked, "Do you think that's acceptable behavior?" She started to say, "But he," and the judge cut her off again and said, "I'm not asking you about him. We're talking about you." She went completely quiet after that. No more excuses. My lawyer told me that that kind of behavior helps my case tremendously. It's showing a clear pattern of instability and vindictiveness, which doesn't exactly help her argument for more alimony or a bigger share of our assets. The case isn't over yet, but the momentum has definitely shifted. For the first time in months, I actually feel hopeful. On a more personal note, There's someone I've started seeing. It's not official and we're taking it slow, but I've been having dinner with a coworker I've always gotten along with. She's been incredibly supportive through all of this. Just easy to be around, you know? No drama, no games. She told me she's proud of me for how I've handled everything. I'm not rushing anything, but once this divorce chapter is officially closed, I think something real could grow between us. Anyway, just wanted to say thank you to everyone who pushed me to stand up for myself and take action. I feel like I'm finally moving forward. You know, Karen, some people just keep crossing the line until they finally get smacked by their consequences.
Exactly. They treat you like a doormat for years and then act shocked when the floor finally gets pulled out from under them.
You can't keep mistreating people and expect them to stay quiet forever. Eventually, life hands you the painful lesson that's been building under the surface.
And that lesson doesn't care if you're ready for it or not. Karma is real, and it shows no mercy.
I'm 33 female. My husband, who's 36, planned an affair on the trip that I planned and paid for. I never thought I'd be writing something like this. I've read posts like these for years, usually late at night when I couldn't sleep. I always felt bad for the people behind them, but I never imagined I'd become one of them. I'm still a bit shaky writing this out, so forgive me if it sounds a bit scattered. I'm 33 female and my husband is 36 male. We've been married for 2 years, but together for 9. Up until yesterday, I would have said with complete confidence that we were happy. Not perfect, not a fairy tale, but solid. I thought we were a good team. I thought we understood each other. We have this ongoing joke where every few months, I change my name in his phone to something ridiculous. The last one was something like perfect human form. It's stupid and childish, but it's been our thing for years. I was doing exactly that yesterday while he was in the shower. His work phone was sitting on the dresser. He never hides it and I never snoop. So I picked it up to change the name in his contacts like we always do. As I was typing, a notification popped up. It was a Snapchat message from a woman he used to know back in his home country. He moved here to the UK about 10 years ago, but he's always kept loose ties with people back home. Her name wasn't someone I had ever heard him mention recently, and the notification preview showed a picture. That alone felt strange because it was his work phone and he's careful about keeping personal stuff off of it. I don't know what part of me decided to tap it. Maybe curiosity, instinct, or God. I opened the notification and it took me straight into a streak chat going on for 5 days. The conversation was crude. They were sending each other pictures that they definitely shouldn't have been. The messages were horrible. And worst of all, detailed plans to meet up when he travels back home next month. They were talking about dates, times, hotels, even which side of the airport she would pick him up on. She was talking about taking a sick day from work so she could spend the whole day with him. One of the pictures he sent her was taken in our bed while I was home. I stared at that picture, feeling my chest tighten until I couldn't breathe. By the time he got out of the shower, I was already shaking and hyperventilating on the edge of the bed. He saw my face and immediately asked what was wrong. I held up the phone and asked him how he could do this. He froze. He didn't even look surprised, just scared. He immediately said it was only talking and told me that he had been feeling neglected. I asked what he meant because nothing has changed. He said work has been stressed and he wanted someone who wanted him for him and that he never feels like he's enough for me. For context, a few years after we bought our house, he told me he sometimes feels inadequate. We went to counseling. We talked through it. We both made changes. I thought we made progress, and I thought we were in a good place again. I know I'm pretty type A. I know I can be intense. I'm career-focused, organized, and not overly clingy. But I've never made him feel like his job or career mattered more to me than him. I supported him for 2 years when he left work to try to become an actor. I covered the mortgage because I didn't want him to feel pressured or stretched too thin financially. He hasn't contributed to the mortgage in 4 years, and I never once threw it in his face. And now he's saying he was neglected. I kicked him out for now. We have 2 dogs together. I also work away from home often, so there are logistics to figure out. I feel like I'm standing at the edge of something that's going to swallow my entire life. I consider what he did cheating. He planned to meet another woman while on the trip that I planned and paid for so he could visit a sick relative he may never see again. I paid for his flights because I wanted him to have closure. And during the same time, he was arranging an affair with another woman. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know how to make sure I don't forgive something unforgivable. At the same time, this has been my partner for almost a decade. Do I end it over what looks like 1 week of messages? How can I not end it? Within one day, my life went from peaceful and predictable to scorched. I'm staring at the wreckage and trying to figure out what pieces are even worth saving. Cancel his flights. Get him out of your house. You don't need this kind of betrayal in your life. He planned a whole meetup with another woman on a trip that you paid for. And he did it in your bed. That's not a moment of weakness. That's a calculated choice. Please protect yourself. People who cheat like this often twist the story until you end up apologizing for their decisions. He's feeling down but not doing anything about it. He's planning to sleep with someone else because his ego was stroked. What about your love and devotion? You supported him for years. You worked harder to give him stability, and he responded by lying and setting up another woman while telling you that he felt not enough. You asked how you can stop yourself from forgiving him. The truth is, you don't owe him forgiveness. He needs to prove why he deserves another chance, and right now, he hasn't even done the bare minimum. If you stay with him, he needs to rebuild everything from the ground up. And even then, the trust may never come back. It never did for me, and it's been 7 years since my husband cheated. I don't trust him, and we argue all the time about everything. Update 1 month later. A lot of you said he had probably been cheating longer. You were right. I noticed a particular carpet in one of the pictures. It was distinct. I searched the location and realized he stayed there over a month ago. That meant the messages I saw were not the beginning. He'd been doing this for at least a month, maybe longer. That month included our 9-year anniversary. That realization helped me to stop blaming myself. He denied everything when I showed him the photo, then admitted parts of it, then lied about other parts. He tried to tell me he and the woman had a past relationship when they didn't. I caught him lying about Snapchat messages too. I stopped asking questions. The pattern was clear. Since I kicked him out, we've only spoken twice. He left the dogs with me, which basically makes them mine now. He wants a percentage of my house. I learned that here in the UK, if you're married long enough, the default split is half of everything. It doesn't matter who paid what or who contributed where. It's designed to protect stay-at-home parents, but unfortunately, it also covers situations like this. After speaking to 2 lawyers, the advice was to stay amicable. If we stay civil, he will take the agreed amount and leave my savings, pension, and investments alone. If I push harder, he could legally take far more. I hate it, but I'm not risking my future to punish him. As for the dogs, we made a deal. If I'm away for work, he can take them during those days as long as he pays most of the costs. I don't love it, but I'm choosing battles here. In the weeks after this happened, I did everything people normally do. I changed the locks, I canceled his flights, I boxed his things and threw them out on bin day. I cried and drank for a week straight. My friends helped as much as they could, but he was the only family I really had. Losing him felt like losing a limb. I started therapy because I needed someone to help me untangle the guilt and the self-blame and the anger that would hit me at random moments. I'm trying to rebuild my life with intention now. I'm applying for new jobs. I'm planning to sell my house and move closer to my friends. I scheduled dental work that I've been putting off for years. It feels like I'm slowly picking myself up, even if the process has been painful and messy. It's been one of the worst months of my life. One of my dogs even got injured during all of this, and I spent nights crying over vet bills and paperwork and all the things I never thought I would deal with alone. But things are settling. I'm not the same person who made that first post. I'm steadier now, and I'm choosing myself. To everyone who commented, thank you. The support, the blunt honesty, even the criticism, it helped more than you know. I don't feel crazy anymore. I don't feel confused. I feel like someone finally turned on the lights and I can see the truth. And to everyone who called me a doormat, don't worry. I won't let anyone walk over me again. Thank you, random strangers, and may the force be with you. Edit for those asking how he's been doing. He's been very sad. The first few weeks, he mostly felt sorry for himself and kept saying he was in shock. He stopped blaming anything except himself now, which I think is because of his therapist. He's calling it self-sabotage and depression and says he needs to work on himself for a while. All of that may be true, and part of me thinks it probably is. But he hasn't made any real effort to reconcile. No asking to talk, no showing up, no suggestion of couples counseling. He didn't fight for the relationship at all. He just folded in on himself and has been sitting with his guilt. Can he still take half the house even though he didn't pay for it for 4 years? Are you sure you can't still try to fight this though? If you don't have kids together and there's evidence he cheated, hopefully the courts wouldn't rule to give him 50% regardless within this context, would they? Please seek more legal counsel. OP, this doesn't sound right or fair. OP, yes, he can. It's a law I generally agree with to protect stay-at-home parents. Apparently, the law doesn't differentiate between that and someone who wanted to try acting. If you manage to keep your pension and savings, losing half the house is sadly the cleanest way out. Planning an affair on a trip that your wife paid for is peak-level failure of character.
For real, she paid for the trip and he treated it like a vacation from loyalty.
At least she caught it before wasting another decade on him.
Yeah, she walked away with her dogs and her dignity. He walked away with nothing but his own mess.
My boyfriend of 2 years destroyed the painting I made for him because it was a cheap gift. I've been with my boyfriend Phil for 2 years. He's from a very comfortable background. His parents helped him get settled early, and he has a solid job with a good salary. He buys himself whatever he wants, whenever he wants it. That's just how he is. Me, I don't come from that kind of background. I lost my job a few months ago and took another one that pays less. I've been stretching every paycheck to cover my share of rent, groceries, and my student loans. It's been hard, and he doesn't always understand what hard looks like. One thing that's always been mine is painting. I love it. It's the one hobby I've kept through school, work, and everything else. Phil has always told me my paintings are good and that he likes them a lot. So for his birthday, I decided to make him something special. I couldn't afford the things he had been hinting at, but I could make something from the heart. Something he always said he appreciated. I spent months planning it. He loves the game BioShock, so I painted a scene from the game with him as a Big Daddy. I know it sounds goofy written out like that, but I really thought he'd enjoy it. I wanted it to feel personal. The painting took hours of work. Late nights after my shift, sketching details, mixing colors, layering everything until it felt right. I felt excited to give it to him because it felt like the best thing I could offer with what I had. When I handed him the wrapped canvas on Saturday, he asked if this was his present. Then he asked if I got him something else. I told him this was his gift and that I'd been working on it for months. I expected maybe a smile or at least a polite thank you. Instead, he got upset. Really upset. He said it was a cheap and lazy gift. He said I was cheap in general. Hearing that after pouring my time and energy into something for him felt like someone dropped a stone in my chest. I told him I was sorry he didn't like it and explained that I couldn't afford the iPhone he wanted. Before I could even finish the sentence, he grabbed the painting. He didn't rip it, but he bent it hard enough to wrinkle the canvas and crack the dried paint. All the texture, all the fine lines, all those hours, ruined in one motion. He kept saying things like I didn't care what he wanted and that I was bad at budgeting. He said he bought most of the groceries and utilities and that I didn't appreciate how much he carried the weight. He wasn't yelling, but the whole thing came out sharp and mean. Then he shifted the conversation. He said he didn't want a shabby painting when he could be with someone else at work who made more money. He said his female coworker had given him a red velvet cake for his birthday and knew his favorite bakery better than I did. I reminded him that earlier in the week, I baked a chocolate cake with cream cheese frosting because that's basically red velvet. He brushed it off and said it wasn't the same. I didn't say anything else after that. I just went to bed because I felt too shaky to keep standing. The next morning, he was gone, and so was the painting. He texted and said he went to an Easter and birthday brunch with his parents and would be back later. I don't know what to do. This relationship has a lot of commitment attached to it. A shared lease, a shared life. He's never acted like this about money before. I feel blindsided, I feel embarrassed, and I feel heartbroken that something I put so much effort into meant so little to him. Are you kidding me? Your boyfriend ruined something you made with love and called it trash because it wasn't expensive enough. He insulted your financial situation, compared you to another girl, and bragged about what she did for him while standing in front of you. Please don't say he's a good guy, because good guys don't do stuff like this. Someone who cares about you would at least respect the time you put in, even if the gift wasn't his taste. The way he spoke to you wasn't frustration, it was contempt. And contempt is the one thing that destroys relationships faster than anything else. You deserve someone who sees your effort as effort, not as something he can stomp on. The red flags here are not small. He destroyed a personal gift. He insulted you. He threw his money in your face. Then he brought up another woman like it was nothing. That's not normal. That's not someone having a bad day. That's someone showing you exactly how he sees you, and none of it is good. Update. After Phil didn't come home for hours and I'd had enough crying for the night, I invited 2 of my girlfriends over. We sat around the living room, had drinks, and I let everything pour out. They listened and both said what a lot of people in the comments said. They called his behavior what it was: cruel. He didn't come back that night. I ended up eating way too many lemon bars out of stress. When I came home from work the next day, Phil was there. The painting was back too. He had put it in a cheap dollar store frame. The canvas was warped and the paint was flaky. It looked worse than it did when he ruined it. He apologized, sort of. He said he was expecting a different kind of gift. He admitted that he had reacted badly. I asked where he stayed the night before. He said at his parents' place and that he borrowed his dad's work clothes. He said it casually, but it didn't sit right with me. I didn't push it. I asked why he reacted so strongly to a handmade gift. That's when everything came spilling out. He said he pays for everything and gets upset when I don't use all my extra cash to think about him. I told him I don't have extra cash. I pay half the rent on an expensive apartment and I'm juggling loans. Meanwhile, he buys a pound of pine nuts a week, expensive gelato, cranks the AC non-stop, and leaves all the lights on. We've had so many arguments about utilities because I was paying half of bills I barely contributed to. Eventually, he insisted on covering the utilities and groceries because it caused too many fights. Then he said I never loved him and I knew he was a prize pig. He said all of this while pacing and avoiding looking at me. He kept pushing the money angle in circles until I finally snapped and asked him straight out if he was seeing this coworker. I called her Red Velvet. He said they kissed once after a work outing months ago. I kept questioning him and he broke down. He admitted they've been going on small lunch dates during work hours. He said he was falling for her and thought she was better for him. He said he wanted me to break up with him first because he didn't want to be the one to do it. So the shabby painting issue wasn't just about the painting. It was him trying to push me away hard enough that I'd leave without him having to take responsibility. We still have 3 months left on our lease, but I told him to get out. He grabbed some clothes and left. I'm not sure if he's coming back. Maybe he's staying with Red Velvet. I don't care. Not anymore. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of this. You put time, effort, and heart into that gift. You tried to keep your relationship steady while juggling real financial stress. He didn't respect any of it. It's good you ended things. You'll look back on this and realize that it was the right move.
That poor painting, though, it never deserved to be the target of homeboy's crash out.
Yeah, OP gave him art and he acted like she handed him a parking ticket.
Good thing she left. A man who throws tantrums over cakes and gifts doesn't deserve a girlfriend with real talent.
And a guy sneaking around with Red Velvet was never going to appreciate her work anyway. Am I the jerk for calling out my boyfriend's family for changing the sleeping arrangement rules to favor his brother and sister-in-law? I, 24 female, and my boyfriend Nathan, who's 26, have been together for 6 years. This year, we traveled to his parents' house for Thanksgiving. For context, Nathan is one of 4 brothers: Alex, who's single, Jack, married to Jill, Nathan, and me, and Luke, who's married to Millie, who have a 2-year-old. Everyone lives out of state except for Luke and Millie. Nathan and I have the longest drive at 9 hours. Here's the issue. Nathan's parents, Mary and John, have only 2 guest bedrooms. 3 couples tend to visit at a time, meaning someone has to sleep on an air mattress in between the rooms. The first year I visited, I was told they'd rotate who gets the air mattress to keep it fair. But after 3 years on it, we were told it was now first come, first served. Nathan's job doesn't allow much holiday time, so we're almost always last to arrive and stuck on the air mattress. While annoying, we understood. It seemed logical. This year was different. Nathan and I got Monday through Thursday off and would arrive first. I talked to Mary about how we were finally going to get a bedroom, and she laughed, saying, "Yep, first come, first served." Millie, who I've grown close to, knew we were thrilled about the prospect of getting a bed this year. She even decided to come early so we could hang out. We planned that I would take the twin room and she'd take the queen. Here's where it gets frustrating. The day we left, I texted Mary our estimated time of arrival. A few hours later, Millie texted me saying Luke had spoken with Mary, who mentioned Jack and Jill would get the queen room and Luke and Millie the twin room, leaving Nathan and me on the air mattress again. Luke called Mary out, reminding her of first come first serve rule, but she suddenly claimed she never said that and justified her decision by saying Jack and Jill would be staying an extra day. For context, Jack and Jill were arriving a day later than us, so this reasoning felt like an excuse. When we arrived, Nathan brought up this rule again, but Mary got defensive, claimed she didn't remember saying it, and refused to budge. I made several sarcastic comments because I felt this was really unfair. I pointed out that rules are rules until they don't serve Jill. I also said that we always did it a certain way until it meant that Jill would have to take the air mattress, and she could come up with any justification for it, but that doesn't make it fair. I even pointed out that it was silly for us to now have to board our dogs and drive 8 hours before anyone else got there just to have the rules change at the last minute. She had plenty of time to bring this up during the many conversations we had leading up to this. She became increasingly sassy about the situation, which left us feeling defeated and frankly a little targeted. Am I the jerk for speaking up or for thinking Mary unfairly changed the rules to suit Jack and Jill, leaving us stuck with the short end of the stick? Not the jerk. And honestly, I'd just leave if it were me. Every time you guys dance their dance, they think it's okay. I'd go home to my nice bed, get the dogs, order a half-baked pizza tomorrow, and cook it up on Thursday. They're being rude, and if this is their status quo for the foreseeable future, you want none of it. Am I the jerk for repurposing the wedding fund and refusing to compromise? Note, I'll be referring to my fiancé as my husband because we've been together for 7 years, living together the whole time, and are currently planning our wedding. So I have 2 kids, my daughter who's 12 and son who's 6, from different fathers. My ex, who is my daughter's father, and I have a joint savings account where we've each been depositing £10 per week since I found out I was pregnant with her. After 13 years of contributions, at £20 a week between us, her account now holds £13,000 and is growing by a little over £1,000 a year. When I found out I was pregnant with my son, I set up a savings account for him too. My fiancé, his father, already had a pre-existing account with a couple hundred in it and wanted to build off that. Because of this, son ended up with separate savings accounts, one managed by me and the other managed by my fiancé. After several years of saving £10 a week, the account I manage for son now has £3,600 in it. If my fiancé had also been contributing £10 a week, as my daughter's father does for her, then son should have over £7,000 by now. However, my fiancé recently admitted that the account he manages for son has only a couple £100 in it. This means not only has fiancé consistently forgotten to contribute as planned, but he's also made withdrawals from son's account, once for half the cost of a school uniform and another time for a football kit. The purpose of these savings accounts is for the kids to access them at 18, untouched in the meantime, so they can use the funds for university, a car, rent, or even something frivolous if they choose. It's upsetting that the principle wasn't respected. Financially, I make more than my fiancé, but not by much. I could mass deposit the missing funds into my son's account now, which would mean tightening our belts next month. Alternatively, I could double my weekly contributions to my son's account until the difference is made up, which would take about 7 years. My fiancé, however, thinks we should either total the savings in both the kids' accounts and divide them equally, or take the missing amount from my daughter's account. He claims he can't afford to make up the shortfall right now and also can't commit to £20 a week for the next 7 years. We have shared savings, including about £2,000 in an emergency fund and a joint account for household expenses like food and bills. While we could technically take the money from the emergency fund, I don't feel comfortable with that. That's for emergencies, not fixing budgeting oversights. At the same time, it doesn't feel right that daughter's savings are significantly higher than my son's, even though this isn't her fault or mine. Taking money from daughter's account was never an option as far as I'm concerned, but fiancé suggested it. To be clear, I make the most money out of all the parents, followed by my fiancé, then my ex, my daughter's father. As a potential solution, I've reconsidered the wedding fund, which has about £2,000 in cash. If I put the wedding fund into my son's account, we wouldn't need to touch the emergency savings. Doing so would bring my son much closer to where he should be, and fiancé would only need to contribute double for a couple of years to make up the remaining difference. Update. When I pressed him again about why he didn't have the money to make up the difference in our son's account, he just said he didn't. I asked him to show me a bank statement, payslip, or anything that could explain his financial situation, especially since he had just been paid on the 28th and it was now the 30th. He refused. I told him that if we're combining finances in any meaningful way, I should be able to see where his money was going. His response was to say I wasn't showing him my personal information either. To prove my point, I immediately pulled up my banking app and I showed him my balance and transaction history. After some back and forth, he finally showed me his most recent statement, which his bank had emailed him earlier that day. What I saw left me stunned. He has nearly £60,000 in his personal, current, and savings accounts, money he has clearly kept solely for himself. Despite this, he had been trying to guilt-trip me into taking funds from my daughter's account to fix his mistake. We had a huge fight about it, and he's staying at a hotel tonight, which it turns out he can more than afford. Seeing how much he had in savings, while knowing he chose to pressure me into compromising my daughter's future, has completely changed the way I see him. It's not just a trust issue at this point. It's the realization that he could hoard tens of thousands of pounds for himself while knowingly try to take from my daughter's account. I cannot see myself marrying him after this. Not ever. Update. When I asked him what he was thinking, his response floored me further. He said he didn't see the point in creating a savings account for our son for when he turns 18 because he's only 6. I tried explaining the entire purpose of saving, building it up over time, so it's there when he needs it, but he brushed it off, repeating that our son wouldn't need the money for years. He dismissed the last 7 years of effort and commitment as pointless and trivial. I told him that he could have told me the truth at any point in the last 7 years, or even in the past few days as I agonized over how to fix the discrepancy. Instead, he lied, watched me stress and worry, and dismissed me as being dramatic and overreacting. He's now staying in a hotel, and we are officially on a break. While I don't see myself forgiving him anytime soon, we do have a son together, and I know I'll have to find a way to co-parent and be in the same room as him. But right now, I don't know how to move past the deceit and betrayal. I yelled at a customer, and she ended up crying. Yesterday, a couple came in just before the dinner rush. From the moment they sat down, the woman was already being difficult. They ordered their food, and when it all came out at once, she immediately started complaining. Apparently, she wanted the soup first, followed by the fries and the appetizer, in that specific order. No big deal, right? It got busy, so we just used the food items to serve other customers while I worked on her request. 20 minutes later, I brought out her remade appetizers and fries, expecting things to calm down. Before I even had a chance to set the food on the table, she was already frowning, insisting the food wasn't hot and it had been sitting in the back for ages. I tried to stay calm. Ma'am, I promise, these items were just made. I watched the kitchen remake them for you. But she wasn't having it. She stuck her fingers in the food, poked around, and said, "See? It's warm, but not hot. It's not even sizzling." I was losing my patience, but I kept it together. Ma'am, I assure you, these are fresh. The kitchen just made them. She demanded the food be remade again, and that's when I snapped. If you want me to toss this perfectly good food and remake it, you'll have to pay for it. Her face flushed. "How dare you speak to me like that?" she exclaimed. "I've had a rough day. I came here to relax, and you're making it worse." I stood firm. I'm the owner of this place. I don't care how stressful your day was. It doesn't give you the right to disrespect my staff or me. She went quiet for a moment, and I thought maybe she'd calm down. But no, she started crying. The tears just welled up in her eyes, and she put her hand to her face as if she couldn't believe what was happening. "Why are you treating me like this? I just wanted a nice meal," she sobbed, her voice cracking. "I've had such a hard day, and this is how you're treating me?" The whole restaurant went silent for a moment, and I stood there unsure of what to do. I mean, I wasn't expecting her to start crying over some fries. I didn't know what was worse, her meltdown or the uncomfortable silence hanging in the air. I tried to soften my tone, but I didn't back down. "I'm sorry you're having such a rough day, but it doesn't give you the right to take it out on the people here trying to help." She just shook her head, the tears streaming down her face. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered, looking down at her plate. Her husband looked embarrassed, but he didn't say anything. He just kept giving me a glare that could cut glass. We remade the food for her again, and when I dropped it off, she barely touched it, but muttered, "Thank you, it's hot now." When the server came by to check on them, the woman told her, "He's embarrassed of me. He doesn't understand how hard my day was. He's treating me like I'm the problem." They paid for everything, like I told them they had to, and left a 20% tip for the server. But I could tell the woman didn't really feel any better, and I didn't particularly feel good either. It was a lot more dramatic than I expected, and I didn't get the satisfaction I thought I would from snapping back. Now I'm just sitting here, waiting to see if she leaves a review. Not sure how I feel about the whole situation, but I guess it's one of those things that makes me realize that no good deed or fried food goes unpunished. Am I the jerk for being upset that I found out my wife was pregnant via social media? Plus update. I'm 29 and she's 27. We've been together for 4 years, married for 2. We're both from the same hometown, but currently live in a different city. She's in our hometown for a family event while I stayed back due to work. We've been trying to get pregnant for 3 months, and now it's finally happened. The problem is the way I found out. One of my friends congratulated me by posting a screenshot in our group chat, a screenshot of an Instagram story shared by one of my wife's friends. The post showed my wife crying and hugging some of her friends with the caption, "You are going to be the best mom." I called her immediately, and she picked up quickly, sounding excited. She said, "I have news, babe." All I could say was, "I know, you're pregnant." She replied, "Wow, babe, how did you know?" I just said, "Saw it on Instagram. Didn't think to call me first, huh?" She sounded confused and said, "What? I didn't post anything." I shot back, "Yeah, but your friends did. That's one way to find out I'm going to be a dad. Thanks." And I hung up. I was furious. She kept calling, but I ignored her until my sister called me shortly after. My sister asked what was going on because she had just arrived at my in-laws' house and everyone was freaking out. My wife had locked herself in her room. I explained what had happened, and my sister immediately said, "There's no way she would do that." I snapped back, "Well, she did." My sister told me she would find out what was going on. A little while later, she called me back to explain. By then, I had calmed down a bit, thinking it was probably just a thoughtless friend who posted without permission. But my sister filled me in on the details, and I felt even worse. My wife had been hanging out with a friend when she realized she was late on her period. They joked, "What if you're already pregnant?" and bought a bunch of pregnancy tests, which all came out positive. They got excited, told her parents, and texted a few friends in town to come over. From the moment she found out to the moment her friend posted on Instagram, only about 2 hours had passed. In that short span, my wife managed to tell at least 10 people before telling me. To make things worse, the argument happening when my sister arrived wasn't even about me. Apparently, my wife's other friends were mad at the one who posted on Instagram, saying it was a horrible thing to do. However, they also couldn't understand why my wife hadn't called me first. Eventually, I called my wife back. She was crying and apologizing, saying she had been planning to surprise me, and that's why she hadn't told me right away. I didn't believe her. I pointed out that if she had been planning to surprise me, she wouldn't have been ready to tell me the moment I called. She went silent. I told her I needed time to think, and she yelled, saying we couldn't just walk away from this and needed to talk. I replied, "Why do we need to talk? So you can lie again?" And I hung up. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with messages, but I'm exhausted. I don't know why, but this whole situation has drained me. I've cried randomly, which is unusual for me because I'm not the kind of person who cries easily. This isn't supposed to be a huge deal, but it feels like I've been hit by a truck. My sister sent me a message that has been sticking with me. "Hey, I know this sucks, and it was a crappy thing for her to do, but don't let this ruin it for you. You're going to be a dad. You're going to be an amazing dad, and that's great. The only thing keeping me going right now is knowing I'm going to be a dad. I've dreamed about this moment, and all I want is for this baby to be healthy. I'll probably swallow my pride and pretend I'm okay just to keep my wife from getting too emotional during the pregnancy, but I'll deal with that tomorrow. Tonight, I just need to sit with my feelings." Just to clarify a couple of things. Do I think the baby might not be mine? Classic Reddit. No chance she cheated. She works from home, and we have security cameras inside our house, so that's not happening here. She doesn't do girls' nights, and her best friend in the city we live in is actually one of my female coworkers. The three of us hang out together a lot. They text each other frequently, but they almost never hang out one-on-one. If they do, it's at our house, and I'm usually in the next room. Also, my wife is the clingiest person alive. When I'm at work, she texts me every 30 minutes. When I'm home, she's always in the same room as me, if she's not cuddling up to me, that is. When we're out, she's always holding my hand or arm and literally doesn't leave my side. Honestly, I love it most of the time because it makes me feel loved, but sometimes it's a bit much. We actually had a fight about it a few weeks ago because I needed a little more space. For a moment, I wondered if that fight was the reason she didn't tell me about the pregnancy right away, but it's probably not related. As for her friends, they're all good people. I've known them for a long time now, and my sister is part of their friend group. Some of them have been friends since they were around 12. My wife is the only one who lives in a different city, so whenever she's back in town, they always spend a lot of time together. I cannot emphasize enough how out of character this whole situation is for her. She has her flaws like everyone else, but being inconsiderate is not one of them. That's why I woke up in the middle of the night feeling like I might be completely wrong about all of this, because she wouldn't do something like this on purpose. There's just no way. So I sent her a text saying that everything was fine and that I would drive the 4 hours to come and talk. She was actually awake and asked if she could call. When she did, she said she wanted to come home. I told her I was coming to pick her up. She asked, "Are we okay?" I just said yes, and she started to cry. I told her I was very happy, that I was dying to see her, but we would need to talk about everything. She calmed down a bit after that. I asked for a day off, and my boss was fine with it, so I'm actually on my way to my hometown right now. Update. When I arrived at my in-laws' house, my wife was sitting on the sidewalk waiting for me. The moment she saw me, she jumped up, hugged me tightly, and kept apologizing. She was crying, repeatedly saying how sorry she was. I held her for a moment before we went inside to her room. I told her I was really tired and needed a nap before we talked. We ended up lying down together and slept while holding each other. When we woke up, we finally had the conversation. It felt like an endless loop, me asking her to explain what happened and her repeatedly saying it was her fault and that she had been stupid. She kept insisting she had ruined a big moment in our lives and that nothing else mattered except apologizing. I tried to dig deeper, but she avoided specifics, saying she didn't want to make excuses. Instead, she focused on taking responsibility and apologizing. Eventually, I gave in, told her I forgive her, and that everything was fine. Still, I wanted more clarity, so I decided to talk to her friend, the one who had been with her all day and bought the pregnancy tests with her. Her friend's account shed a lot of light on the situation. She explained that after my wife tested positive, they spent about an hour freaking out and brainstorming ways to tell me or surprise me. During this time, my mother-in-law came home and they shared the news with her. Together, they decided to invite some of their friends over to help come up with ideas. The friend confirmed that the group discussed keeping the news quiet for now since my wife hadn't told me yet. They even made it clear that no one should post anything about it. The girl who ended up posting the Instagram story was part of these discussions. According to the friend, the photo was taken during the moment another friend arrived and heard the news. Despite being explicitly told not to share anything, the girl decided to post it anyway. When confronted, she initially claimed she didn't realize she wasn't supposed to post it, but when pressured further, she admitted she just didn't care. She then left, blocked everyone in the group, and hasn't been heard from since. No one knows why she did it. Some speculate she might be jealous of my wife, but at this point, no one really cares. My wife and I have also blocked her, and we're cutting all contact with her moving forward. My sister later confirmed the friend's account. When she first called me, she had assumed my wife told everyone and forgot to tell me. After speaking to my wife's other friends and my mother-in-law, she realized that wasn't the case. My sister explained that when I called my wife essentially said, "Forget it, I'm telling him right now," because she was so excited to share the news with me. On the drive back home, my wife and I had another talk, this time with all the details cleared up. Her story lined up with what the others had told me. She apologized again and emphasized that I'm her #1 priority. She admitted that this was one of the dumbest things she's ever done and promised to make it right. At her insistence, we've scheduled a couples counseling session next week. I honestly don't think it's necessary, but she's worried I forgave her too quickly and that I might be bottling up my feelings. She wants me to have a space to express myself fully, which, honestly, is just another reminder of how much she cares about me. Her concern for my feelings is enough for me to chalk this up as a one-time mistake. So far, everything's looking good. We're moving forward together. I'm excited about becoming a dad, and I'm ready to put this behind us. My wife's sister tried to kiss me, and now my wife is spiraling. Plus final update. My wife's sister made a pass at me at a recent family gathering, and I have no idea what to do. For context, I think my wife, Jenna, is absolutely gorgeous, but she has some really negative body image issues. This is in large part because of her sister, Mary, who is very conventionally attractive as opposed to Jenna's more unconventional, but in my opinion, striking beauty. Mary was a successful model until a couple of years ago, and now she works in the fashion industry. In our early days of dating, when I would tell Jenna she's beautiful, she would always say, "Just wait until you see my sister." When I did finally meet her family, she would randomly press me for weeks to talk about her sister, whether I thought she was more attractive than her, etc. I always told her the truth, that I think Mary is attractive in a boring way, and that I think my wife is much more beautiful and interesting to look at. She wouldn't let it go until I confronted her about how uncomfortable it made me, and I asked her what was going on. This is when she told me that she always had a chip on her shoulder about her looks because of being compared with her sister growing up. They fell into the classic smart one, pretty one dynamic their whole lives. She also said Mary had a habit of being flirty with all of her exes and warned me that it would happen to me eventually. She then started sobbing and begging me to not cheat on her with her sister, to which I forcefully said I would never cheat on her with anyone, let alone her sister. I've been crazy about my wife since day one, and there's literally no woman on earth who could come close to her. I honestly didn't believe her about the flirting at first. I assumed it was just an extension of her insecurity, but I was wrong. Whenever we get together with my wife's family, Mary always finds ways to make little comments about me. It's super uncomfortable for everyone, especially my wife, and I've called her out on this before. She'll cool it for a while, but eventually starts doing it again. It's been 6 years of this, and every time it happens, my wife is upset for days, and I have to do a lot of reassuring. On to the current problem. A few days ago, we were at my mother-in-law's birthday party, and Mary asked me to help her grab some things from the garage. As soon as we walked into the garage, she turned and started trying to kiss me. I immediately pushed her off and asked her what the heck she was doing. She started giggling and saying she was just doing what we both have been thinking, and kept insisting, "You know you want to." I told her she was out of her mind, and I ran out of there. I went straight to my wife and told her we were leaving. The whole ride home, she was asking me what was wrong. I wasn't sure whether to tell her because I knew how much it was going to hurt her, but I also thought Mary would probably try to spin it as me making a move on her, so I knew I had to just say it. I told her everything, and she cried the whole way home. For the last several days, Mary has been calling and texting my wife, doing exactly what I thought she would do. Even telling my wife that I said she, Mary, was the hottest girl I've ever seen, which I had to assure my wife a million times that I did not say that, and I never would, even though she believes my account of the situation. She's been a complete wreck the last several days. She's hardly eating, she pulls away from my touch when I try to hug her or just hold her. She says that she feels hideous and disgusting, and I don't know what to do. This is the lowest that I've ever seen her, and it hurts to see how much she's hurting. I have no idea what to do to help her heal from this. Reddit, what should I do? All family gatherings that include Mary must now be non-attendable. Your wife knows what an awful person her sister is, and hopefully the rest of the family does too. To be honest, your wife's sister is evil. You have reassured your wife of your love and faithfulness. Your wife is incredibly insecure about herself, so obviously a professional may be in order for her and for you too. You love your wife, so stand by her and be there to support her. OP. My in-laws definitely enable her behavior. She's the golden child. They brag about her constantly, even though my wife is a neuroscientist. Their mom was a pageant queen, and she was their dad's much younger trophy wife. Honestly, we may have to go no contact with all of them. Update. Several people have asked how my wife's family feels about all of this, and I explained in a comment that her parents are toxic and treat Mary as the golden child. Even though my wife is a neuroscientist, amazingly talented musician, speaks 3 languages fluently and another 2 conversationally. My wife and her family are seriously the only people who don't seem to understand how exceptional she is. I remember meeting one of my wife's family friends and talking to them about her research, and they said, "Oh wow, her parents just told us that she works at a university." Whereas my parents literally introduce her as the family genius to everyone. It makes me so angry to think about how her family has stolen her shine her whole life. She's literally a Renaissance woman, but all they care about is looks and money. Some people asked me why I would ever put myself in a situation alone with Mary given everything she's done. I have no good answers for that, other than I never thought she would actually try to do anything like this. That possibility just didn't even exist in my head. I realize now that I should have seen this would happen eventually, and that I should have been less concerned with keeping the peace and more concerned with shutting Mary's crap down before it escalated to this point. Hindsight is 20/20. Anyway, on to the update. The night I posted, I told my wife that if she wanted to try to repair her relationship with her sister, I would respect that, but that I don't feel comfortable with being around her for the foreseeable future. I said Mary has obviously been deeply jealous of my wife her whole life because she is a hollow, ugly person whose entire value has an expiration date, while my wife actually has substance. I said that I think her whole family is toxic and has done nothing but put her down her entire life, but that only she can decide where she wants them in her life or not. I also told my wife that while I don't blame her for her emotional reaction, her insecurity is something that she needs to work on for our relationship to be healthy. What Mary did was wrong, and she's been acting this way for years, but I have consistently put aside my own feelings about this problem because of how it affects her, and that has prevented me from getting the support that I need too. I told her that her reaction only serves to punish herself and me for her sister's behavior, and there's no reason to give her that kind of power. I also told her something that a commenter said that really resonated with me. The only people who have ever considered her second best are her and her family. Everyone else sees her for who she really is. She was crying the whole time and agreed that she needed to go to therapy to work on her insecurity. We were able to find a therapist who specializes in body image and self-esteem issues to work with her individually, and we're looking for a couples therapist too. My wife sent a message to her parents and sister that explained exactly what happened and told them she would reach out to them if she ever feels ready to repair their relationship. We blocked all of them everywhere, but Mary has of course been spamming my family and our friends with nonsense that thankfully nobody believes. My wife is still down in the dumps, but I can see that things are getting a little better. She's eating and sleeping more, and she's cuddling with me in the mornings again, which is nice. Now I'm planning a surprise getaway for us this weekend. We're going to one of our favorite places, and I'm going to wine and dine her and try to make her feel like the queen that she is. I want to thank you all for your help. You really helped me understand this. Y'all are the best. Update. My wife loved the getaway weekend. We had a blast, and by the end of it, she said she felt like herself again. For a few days after we got back, things were really quiet, so we were hopeful that Mary had finally given up, but I felt uneasy about it. Many of you warned me that Mary would try to interfere with my work, and while I initially dismissed it, I figured I would reach out to my boss just in case. I've been working at the same company for almost 10 years, and she's heard me vent about Mary, so I didn't have to explain too much. My boss just reassured me that she knows my real character and would let me know if Mary tried anything. As you predicted, Mary did try to contact my boss a couple of days later, and the following is a recounting of what my boss told me. Apparently, Mary said that I needed to be fired because I was a creep and everything that happened was my fault. My boss said that was a very serious accusation to make and asked Mary to explain what proof she had. Mary claimed there was a video camera footage of the whole incident, and my boss asked her to send the video. Then Mary got flustered and said the police had it, so my boss asked her to send over a copy of the police report. Then Mary said it had a lot of private information in it, so my boss asked her to redact the private info and send it over. Then Mary said she didn't feel comfortable with that, and my boss told her that she could not take action against an employee based on word of mouth from a stranger. Then Mary shouted at her about victim blaming and hung up. Unfortunately, that was not the end of it. Last Wednesday, Mary somehow sent an email from my personal email account with a gross picture, not me, to the entire office. My best guess is that I must have left my email logged in on one of my in-laws' devices. She's definitely not smart enough to actually hack me. At this point, it was clear we had to escalate things legally. I really wanted to avoid it, but she forced my hand. My wife and I have a lawyer friend who helped us draft a cease and desist letter outlining her continued harassment and the material and emotional damage this is causing us. My wife then sent a message to Mary and my in-laws with a copy of the letter and made it very clear that we would pursue criminal and/or civil proceedings if her harassment continued. My wife's mom then called her crying and begged her to just let it go and leave Mary alone. My wife calmly explained that Mary is the only person responsible for this whole situation and that their parents have always enabled her awful behavior. She also said something she later regretted, but I think was pretty mean. Mary is going to stick you two in a nursing home and steal your money the minute she has the chance, and you deserve it. After the way her mom reacted, my wife is firmly settled on cutting them off completely. This happened on Friday, and on Sunday, Mary's best frenemy, Anne, sent my brother a message on Facebook to say Mary is going to leave us alone and to please not sue her. I told my brother not to respond, then just sat and enjoyed the idea that Mary was out there somewhere freaking out about the potential of having to actually face the consequences of her actions. It must be such a strange feeling for her. Since then, we haven't heard a peep from the grapevine. It feels like things are finally starting to go back to normal. My wife is starting therapy next week, and we'll be starting couples therapy in a month or two. She wants to do some work on herself first. She's also taking a short leave from work to rest and recharge. I'm so proud of her for standing up for herself with her family and finally putting her mental health and well-being first. Imagine your mother-in-law is demanding that you buy her house from her, but you can't stand her house and would never want to live there. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.